We've all seen the image. A hairy brute, hunched and grunting, dragging a club, living in darkness, silent, violent, dumb, the Neanderthal. For over a century, this caricature has haunted textbooks, cartoons, and even our language. Call someone a Neanderthal and you're calling them backwards, primitive. But what if? We got it all wrong because today, we know this, the Neanderthal was not a beast. He was human. He loved, he mourned, he made art, and part of him still lives in you. Before we unravel the truth, let me ask you, if you find this story fascinating and want more forgotten science, strange beginnings, and deep human stories, hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell. It's free, and it helps this journey reach others like you. Now, let's go back 60,000 years ago. A second species of human walks the earth beside us. They're shorter, stronger, and adapted to an unforgiving Ice Age world. They are not Homo sapiens. But they are not animals either, they are Neanderthals. So how did these intelligent survivors become a joke? It began with one skeleton and a rush to judgment. Miners discovered bones in a limestone cave. Strange bones, a low, sloped skull, thick limbs, unlike anything they had ever seen. When scientists examined it, they didn't see a fellow human. They saw a missing link, half man, half ape, and so the myth began. They ignored the facts that didn't fit, like the large brain capacity, or the deliberate burial posture, or the healed injuries, signs of care from others. Instead, they told a story of stupidity, and the world believed it. For generations, the Neanderthal was locked in a stereotype, crude, dumb, savage, nothing like us, but science, as it always does, kept digging. And what it found changed everything. New discoveries began to paint a new picture, a human species with culture, language, and maybe even music. They weren't behind us, they were beside us, living parallel lives shaped by a different world. In the chapters ahead, we'll meet the real Neanderthals. We'll uncover how they lived, how they thought, how they met us, and why they vanished. But before we do, remember that every myth has a moment where the truth begins to shine through. This is that moment. To understand the Neanderthal, you must let go of everything you thought you knew. Forget the brute, forget the beast, forget the club-dragging caveman, and instead, picture this: a mother nursing her child beside a fire, an elder showing a boy how to carve flint. 60,000 years ago, the Neanderthal wasn't a wanderer with no purpose. He built shelters. He cared for the wounded. He survived some of the harshest climates Earth ever saw. And he did it with ingenuity. Their tools weren't crude. They were crafted with skill, shaped for purpose. We once thought they couldn't speak, that their throats weren't shaped right, that they had no language. But CT scans of fossilized hyoid bones, the bones that support speech, suggest otherwise. A hunter tracking reindeer across frozen plains, this was daily life. Because soon, these two human worlds, Neanderthal and Homo sapiens, will meet. And when they do, everything changes. Perfect. Now we arrive at the dramatic turning point in the story. Some of these techniques are more advanced than those used by early Homo sapiens. This wasn't guesswork, this was engineering. And it didn't end there. Neanderthals painted. Neanderthals used stone, wood, and even pitch from trees to make composite tools. All signs point to a species that could communicate, think, plan, feel. They weren't emotionless survivors, they were a people. A culture, a family. One Neanderthal male, found with a withered arm, blind in one eye, and disabled, had clearly lived for years after his injuries. That's before modern humans ever arrived in Europe. Which means Neanderthals made art. They also buried their dead. The deeper we dig, the clearer the truth becomes. Neanderthals were not behind us on the evolutionary ladder. They were a different version of humanity. One shaped by ice and time, not by lack of mind. In Shanidar Cave, Iraq, a Neanderthal was found surrounded by pollen as if laid to rest with flowers. In caves across Spain, red hand stencils, ladder symbols, and dots were found, dated to over 64,000 years ago. It wasn't random, it was ritual. Something sacred, something deeply human. And this is where the stereotype begins to fall apart. Combined with their complex social behaviors, shared hunting strategies, and long-term care for injured members. Why? Because others cared for him. That's not something a beast does. That's something only a human can do. The real Neanderthal wasn't dumb. He was human, just not quite us, but that's about to change. For over 300,000 years, Neanderthals ruled Europe. They knew its mountains, its rivers, its winters. They adapted to its cold, hunted its beasts, and carved out a life in its stone and snow. But far to the south, another human was rising. In Africa, a species with a lighter frame and a restless mind had learned to cross deserts and dream of distant lands. Around 60,000 years ago, they began to move north, then east, then into the unknown, and in time, we met. No one knows what that first meeting was like. Were there shouts, curiosity, fear? Did they stare at each other across the river, recognizing something eerily familiar in the other's face? Or was it simply survival? What we do know is this: they didn't just fight, they mated. Through ancient liaisons, something extraordinary happened. Our species merged, not completely, but enough to leave a mark. Today, nearly all non-African humans carry 1–2% Neanderthal DNA. That's not a rumor. That's in your cells, skin tone, immune responses, even mood and sleep patterns. These traits may trace back to them. Neanderthals are not just part of the past. They are part of us, but it wasn't always peaceful. Competition was real, the climate shifted. As advanced, food grew scarce. And now, to intelligent, tool-making predators, one ancient, one newly arrived, were hunting the same prey, the same land, the same future. In some places, there was coexistence. In others, conflict, but over time, one species began to fade, and the other ours began to spread, but even in victory, we didn't erase them. They live in the blood of billions, in your bones, your skin, your very breath. We didn't replace Neanderthals, we absorbed them. The meeting of our two worlds wasn't just an event, it was a merging of destinies. To human stories, colliding, overlapping, and rewriting the path of evolution forever. But the story isn't over yet. Next, we ask the hardest question: why did the Neanderthals disappear? They endured ice ages, hunted mammoths, buried their dead with care, survived for over 300,000 years, and then they were gone. The disappearance of Neanderthals is one of science's most haunting questions. What happened to them? For decades, theories swirled. Were they wiped out in war? Did Homo sapiens outcompete them? Or were they simply absorbed? The truth, as always, is more complex and more human. The Ice Age was not kind. Around 40,000 years ago, Europe's climate changed violently. Cold snaps, sudden warming, mega droughts. Food sources disappeared, forests shrank, the game grew thin. Neanderthals, already small in number, were cornered. Survival became harder, and into this pressure cooker stepped Homo sapiens. We were different, not stronger, but possibly faster, more adaptable, and better organized. Our ancestors formed larger social groups, shared information across wider areas, developed specialized tools and weapons. Even language, if we had it in a more advanced form, could have tipped the scales. In a world where every hunt meant life or death, that tiny edge could mean everything. Neanderthals never existed in large numbers. Maybe only 70,000 at their peak, spread thin across continents. Compare that to the waves of Homo sapiens pouring in from Africa, and the math begins to speak. Small, isolated groups struggle to survive. Disease, inbreeding, starvation, exhaustion, they didn't vanish all at once. They faded, and yet they didn't fully disappear. Because they interbred with us, again and again. So even as their distinct culture and lineage vanished, their genes lived on. You might carry Neanderthal DNA in your immune system, skin pigmentation, fat metabolism, even how deeply you sleep or whether you suffer allergies. This wasn't extinction, it was transformation. A quiet merging of two human stories, one fading, the other continuing with new strands woven in. The last known Neanderthals lived in Gibraltar on the edge of the world. Cut off, holding on, their tools were still sharp. Their minds still alive, but they were the final echoes, and then silence. But the silence didn't last. Because the Neanderthal didn't truly vanish, they became part of us. And in ways we're only beginning to understand, they helped make us who we are. They are gone, no tribes remain. No language, no monuments, no names, and yet, they are still here. In you, in me. In billions of people walking the modern Earth, the Neanderthal story didn't end. It became ours, their DNA runs quietly in our blood. A whisper from the past, hidden in every cell, telling a story we once thought lost. When researchers mapped the Neanderthal genome in 2010, they didn't just uncover an extinct species, they discovered family. Modern humans outside Africa carry 1–2% Neanderthal DNA, and in total, about 40% of the Neanderthal genome still exists, scattered across us all. Each of us holding fragments, pieces, memories. That DNA affects us more than we ever imagined. Some of us owe our stronger immune systems to Neanderthals forged in Ice Age plagues. Some of us carry genes for skin adaptation to cold climates or higher pain thresholds. And yes, some of us may even feel ancient echoes in our mental health, our sleep cycles, or our reaction to sunlight. These aren't just quirks, they're survival tools passed down from a species forged in hardship and frost. We may never know what music they made, what names they called each other, what stories they told under the stars. But we know they thought, they loved, they grieved. And those things, those human things, are their true legacy. Because every time we care for our sick, every time we bury our dead, every time we wonder who we are and where we come from, we honor them. For so long, we saw Neanderthals as something less. An evolutionary failure, an animal on the brink of humanity. But science has corrected us. They were not failures. They were not dumb. They were human, just shaped by different paths and different challenges. And when we look at them now, we don't see monsters. We see mirrors. Evolution isn't a ladder. It's a tree with many branches. The Neanderthal was one of those branches. Not the wrong one, just a different one. And though that branch has broken, its roots still feed the world. They helped raise the tree of us. The next time you walk through a cold wind or feel the weight of history in your bones, remember, you are not alone in time. You carry the fire of many ancestors, and some of them were Neanderthal. They were not dumb. They were not less. They were family. If this story moved you, if you believe these forgotten lives deserve to be remembered, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and join us as we uncover the untold history of our species.